What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPaPa, and today we're going to be talking Scarlet and Violet, but we're going to be looking at it through the same lens that we've been looking at Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon. And if you follow this channel at all, you know that every single month I compare the top 20 singles prices and booster box prices for Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, XY eras, right? And we look at how those prices fluctuate month over month. Well, I warehouse that information for Scarlet and Violet as well. However, guess what? I don't really publicize it. I don't do a lot of content around it because it's kind of irrelevant at this point. Yeah, it's interesting to keep an eye on, and yeah, it's fun to watch, but all of these cards are still so new. There's still so much flushing out going on that I don't really present it. Although if you guys drop in the comments down below that you want to see it, I'm happy to provide that for you every single month because I do the work, so I can share it if you'd want to. But what I thought would be fun today would be to kind of start off with looking at just where all of these Scarlet and Violet sets and their top 20 singles cards started when I began warehousing this information. Now, I started warehousing this data back in September of 2023, so the first two sets we're going to look at, they already had some of the Pokemon Pop and Flop built in, but as we get beyond that, we're going to be able to see how these sets have performed in whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's right, whether it's wrong. Scarlet and Violet is being really, really different. It is performing very strongly compared to what we typically see when new sets come out. We've all been doing this for a long time. Typically a new set comes out, cards start super high, they go through a 6, 8, 12-month period where they're coming back down because more product is being ripped. That demand is being met with the ever-increasing supply of boxes being ripped. But here in the Scarlet and Violet era, we're seeing things perform really different. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I am saying I'm approaching the singles card space with a certain degree of trepidation, but from a sealed product perspective, I think we have some awesome cards and some awesome sets, and I can't wait to share this information with you. So as always, before I get into it, listen, if you enjoy this type of data-driven content, hit that subscribe button. If you have questions or comments, drop them down below, and if you like what you see, give us a big old thumbs up. I appreciate you so much for watching. I can't thank you enough, and those three small things go a long way in helping my small channel out, and I really appreciate it. So with that out of the way, let's look at some of these sets, and we obviously are going to start off with Scarlet and Violet base and Paldea Evolved. And as I said, I started keeping these top 20 singles card prices in September. So Scarlet and Violet came out at the very, very beginning of April of 2023, actually the very end of March 2023, March 31st, I believe. And Paldea Evolved launched in June of 2023. So these cards, as I said, had already corrected a little bit. But what's interesting to me and what's kind of exciting is when you look at Scarlet and Violet base set, obviously base sets aren't known for being, you know, these grand sets with these amazing chase cards. Well, even though it had already corrected a little bit since that correction, which was already baked in when I started collecting these prices in September, the total value of the top 20 singles cards is actually up 3% from September of 2023 till now. And that is exciting for me because I think that just goes to show you that the Scarlet and Violet era has started to gain a lot of momentum. And it's not just in these individual sets that we're going to talk about throughout the course of this video. It is just in the era as a whole. These illustration rares, the special illustration rares, the artwork in general, the card lineups, like Scarlet and Violet is doing really big things. And so when you see a base set like Scarlet and Violet, which didn't have a ton of hype around it, right, still gain over the last couple months, it is really impressive to see, and it just goes to show you that the hobby's pretty excited about the space that we're in. Now, Paldea Evolved had only been out for 3 months when I started collecting this data, so the drop isn't quite as significant, but the drop is still there. Now, Paldea Evolved is one of the sets that I don't have a lot of trepidation around. Like, I think Paldea Evolved is going to be a fantastic set for years to come. I think it's going to be helped from an investor standpoint because the print quality was so poor. If you're strictly a collector and you want to keep those cards raw, it kind of stinks because the print quality sucks. But if you're looking at it from an investment perspective, you know, things with low print quality like this have a tendency to perform well over time, and we've seen that in some of these singles cards. We'll talk about it in a minute. The other thing I like about Paldea Evolved is really the lineup is strong. You've got not just the Magikarp, which we'll look at in a second, but you've got the Raichu, and you've also got the Tyranitar. Now, if you look out through all of the years of Pokemon, goes back as far as you want, you will see some really high value Tyranitar, some really high value Raichu cards over the course of Pokemon collecting and investing history. So having those three cards in here, obviously Magikarp has a lot of big ones too, but having those three kind of steamrolling this train of momentum here in Paldea Evolved, coupled with the fact that it's got a lot of hype around it, coupled with the fact that the print quality is really bad, you know, I do think Paldea Evolved has a very bright future ahead of it. And the thing that I thought was really cool when I was looking at this Magikarp card is you see these different support levels, right? It really does stair-step its way up to its current price now of $125. And I talk about support lines a lot, and we've been able to use support lines to identify all kinds of opportunities. And I had a great suggestion in the comments not long ago where they said, you should do a whole video just on support lines and what that means for the hobby and some different examples, and I think I'm gonna do that. But as you can see, this Magikarp card, it started off, in the $40 range, it shot up, and then it leveled off at 70 for a while. Then it shot up again, and it leveled off at 100. I mean, a bunch of people were out there saying this isn't a $100 card for all of these other reasons. Then it shot all the way up to like 150 bucks, which was insane. And then it dropped back down. Now it's leveling off at $125 again. So for me, that is healthy growth. That's not being driven by some FOMOing in the market. That's not driven by a short-term buyout. Like, these are steady, like, reliable gains that we've seen. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to maintain that $125 price point, but it sure has shown a lot of support at that mark. And it's really interesting to watch and see where this card will go over the next, I don't know, 12, 18 months. I'm really fascinated to watch it play out. Next thing right here, we're getting into Obsidian Flames and Pokemon 151. So Obsidian launched in August of 2023. I started in September. So we're caught up, okay? We're exactly where we should be with all the sets moving forward. And Obsidian Flames, I had some excitement around that. I thought that the Terra Charizard at the very top was going to have the ability to do well. I don't know why. I felt Obsidian was going to do a lot better. I had compared it to some of the older Charizard sets in the past, and Darkness was one of the ones I compared it to, and I felt like Obsidian was going to do better, and I was absolutely wrong. I feel like Obsidian is now kind of destined for Darkness Ablaze 2.0. That Charizard has fallen very significantly, down 42% since we started monitoring it in September. And if you remember when the set first came out, that was well over $100. So it has dropped significantly. And then the thing that gives me a lot of caution is if you look, there are a lot of cards, almost all the cards are under $10. When the cards are starting off now at this point in its life cycle in the $2, $3, $4 range in the top 20, it is very hard for those cards to find so much excitement and momentum just randomly in the future where all of a sudden the thing has a bunch of $10 cards, $20 cards, $50 cards. Like, it's just probably not going to happen. So Obsidian Flames for me, I still like the Charizard at the top because it's got some rarity to it in terms of PSA 10s, not a whole lot of them out there, and we'll just have to see. So from a sealed play, that's the only thing I'm looking at from there. Now, 151, you might be surprised here. Those cards are down 4% ever since they came out, right? We started monitoring these prices in October all the way through July. Guess what? The total value of the top 20 is down 4%, but that is actually fantastic. You do not see that little amount of regression over a brand new set. This is awesome the way this set has performed. It's absolutely incredible. And I mean, to be honest with you, there was no set in recent memory that was more hyped than Pokemon 151. So the prices of these cards already started off incredibly high because it had so much hype behind it. It brought tons of people back into the hobby, and for all of those reasons, I still think these cards are very approachable from a price point perspective. I think there's some print quality issues, like the print lines that you find in these 151 cards are all over the place. I mean, getting these in Gem Mint 10s are hard across the board. It's not just one chase card that has a problem. Almost all of them have a problem finding in Gem Mint 10s, which in the long run is going to drive collectability and investability because there's going to be some degree of rarity to it. So for all those reasons, I think a lot of these cards in 151 have a bright future. And when you look at these top cards in there, this Venusaur has really stayed flat. Yes, it's had periods where it spiked up. It has ones where it's come down, and obviously there's a Blastoise version like this, and I love there's a Pikachu in there, which is a big mashup card, and obviously you got the Charizard at the very top, but these cards in a $40, $50 price range, it will depend on if there's a 151 reprint here, and it depends on how big that reprint will be, but I do think that these cards have the opportunity still to give some great long-term price appreciation if 151 continues to do what all of us think it will do, and just be one of the strongest sets in the recent modern era. So love these cards. Artwork is fire. Think there's a really huge opportunity there in the 151 space still. Next ones, we're talking to Paradox Rift and Paldean Fates, and Paradox Rift is giving me a little bit of a Battle Styles vibe here, and that's because Battle Styles has, it's got alt arts in it, there's some really cool art in it, but it just never had quite the lineup that needed to get into the top 5 or top, I don't know, I won't say top 10. It's obviously top 10 from Sword and Shield era. There's only 12 booster boxes in that era, but at least in the top third, let's say. So Paradox Rift has some really cool art in it. It's got some big name Pokemon in it, but it has not performed well. You'll see that since we started tracking this in November, it has performed the way we typically see sets perform, right? It's down about 31% from those top 20 singles cards over that period of time, with lots of regression there at the very top. The big chase card is down 84%. Now, Paldean Fates is another one that's really interesting to talk about. So Paldean Fates, I don't think it had that much hype to it. I don't think it had that much excitement to it. I know everybody was excited about the baby shinies, and there was a Charizard there at the very top, but it has performed surprisingly well. It has that Bubble Mew in there, and the thing I like about that Bubble Mew is the artwork is so incredibly unique. That card has performed exceptionally well. The price has gone up. There's a lot of hype around it, and even that Charizard, you see the Charizard from February until now has dropped 25%, but I think what's really exciting when you look at that card specifically is it went through the Pokemon pop and flop super fast, super early, and now it is just maintained at that $114 price point. Again, that shows me that yes, it started off in the $150, $160 range as soon as it came out. Of course, it dropped immediately down as more were opened and more were put into the market, but the fact that it has remained at this $115 price point really for the last 4 to 5 months just shows me that this is a very stable card at a very stable price. It has held that $100 mark, and for me, with a set this new, to see the big chase card hold that line for so long, very, very exciting to me. And I do think Paldean Fates has a good future in front of it. Again, I love the fact that those Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs have those Mimikyus in them, those Pokemon Center exclusive stamps on them. I think the lineup for this is awesome. I love the baby shinies. Again, the Mew is going to help keep this set super relevant and super exciting for the long run. So again, just another example of a specialty set here in the Scarlet and Violet era that I think is incredibly unique and gives this era a huge leg up on some of the eras in the past. And now we're getting into the next stuff. We're getting into the nitty gritty. We're getting into the most recent sets. We've got Temporal Forces and we have Twilight Masquerade on here. And as I just think it's too early to render judgment on either of these, but it is interesting to see the way some of these prices have been moving. And I do think, I say it here, I write it out, I'm going to say it out loud, I think these sets are great. I think there's some awesome cards in them. I think the excitement around it is well founded. I'm not sure if that it's going to maintain forever, and the only reason I pause when I say that and I say that out loud is simply because I think that we have so many awesome Scarlet and Violet sets coming down the pipeline in the months and even year ahead, right? When I think about that, these are probably the best sets that exist today. I don't think these are going to be the best sets in the whole Scarlet and Violet era. I think people are paying a premium because it's the best that we have right now, even though it probably won't be the best of the whole Scarlet and Violet era. So we're seeing some singles cards really pop off in price. We're seeing the booster boxes are higher than we traditionally see. I think Twilight Masquerade booster box cases on eBay right now, the cheapest you can find it is like $700, which still well below MSRP, but when you talk about all of the other sets that we've gone through up to this point, we just haven't seen booster box prices selling for that high on the secondary market. And I'm not taking anything away from these cards. I'm not taking anything away from these sets. Temporal Forces, I have highlighted it before. You know that I own a couple cases of those booster boxes. I'm a big believer in that. I think it's got a great lineup, but I do think that we have some bigger and badder sets coming up further into the future, which will be interesting to keep an eye on. And the other thing that I find really interesting is this Greninja card. Now, I certainly did not think this was going to be a $250 card right out of the gate. It has been incredible to watch. I know the pull rate isn't that great. I know Greninja is a popular card. I know the artwork on here is really stunning. It's just been interesting, and I will be fascinated to see how this card, you know, kind of transcends the rest of the Scarlet and Violet era as we get some, what I think we'll have some bigger chase cards that come out. I don't think this Greninja is going to be the big chase card of the whole Scarlet and Violet era. I don't think any of you do either, right? We've got a whole lot more Scarlet and Violet yet to come out. So if this isn't the big one, is it going to be able to maintain that $250 price point? Or as other ones come out, as people start shifting their attention and their Pokemon spending dollars onto other cards, are we going to see this one come back down? And that's one of the reasons why for these newer cards, I'm kind of approaching them with a little bit of trepidation. So there it is. Those are all of the Scarlet and Violet sets so far, and I had a ton of fun pulling this together. I will ask one last time, if you want to see all of this month over month, the same way we do for Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon, all you got to do is let me know. I pull the data, I keep it, I'm happy to put it together for you. If you find it relevant, we will make that happen. Now, with that being said, if you got to the end and you enjoyed it and you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. If you have questions or comments, drop them down below. And if you like what you see, give us a big old thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome one, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks, everybody. Bye.